Welcome, coaches, to our last talk of the evening tonight. Today we have Neal Renna of Eastern Illinois. He's the co-special teams coordinator, and his talks on special teams, punt, return, kickoff return. Coach, the floor is yours.
I appreciate it. I know it's been a long night for some of you guys. We ended with the most exciting stuff, special teams. But I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of I'll try to give you as many coaching fundamental points. Like, this is exactly what we do, not hiding anything, not worried about that. Everybody does the same stuff. So we'll start from the beginning here. Just that's who I am. Our coordinator is southwest suburbs, southwest suburbs. Went to Lockport. There you can see. So Chicago area is home to me. I love it. That's why I'll do these things and meet with any coach. Doesn't matter if you guys ever want to come down or talk individually. I got a lot of time for the state of Illinois. So a quick overview of what we do. For us to call it, it must fit the following criteria. It needs to be simple, and everybody says simple. But you'll see I do what I say. I try to keep it as simple as possible. And it might not be simple to you, so it's important to ask your coaches, am I missing something? Is it clear? As often as you can. It has to fit clear rules and responsibilities, three hit burst, near number, tip of the pad, things like that. It has to be repeatable. Does it fit what we do, what we practice while we run? So I'm putting a two-man shield in this year just to mix it up a little bit, because when you get in the three-man shield world, it's really easy to just hold those guys up at line of scrimmage. So we'll put a two-man in, but first off, it's got to fit what we do. It's got to fit in the green and gold parameters. And then you also have to have the people to do it. So where we struggle with it is we got the offensive linemen. We just don't have those 250-pound tight ends for that third shield guy to have him flex in and out. So you also have to have the people to do it. So you can't be stubborn and say, oh, we're going to do it because we want to do it. It has to fit what you do, and you have to have the players for it. It has to be adaptable. You have to have, especially on PBR, pump block return, you have to have built-in answers to various formations. You can't. And all this stuff, honestly, is the same stuff I'll use on my defensive presentations. Same principle. If it doesn't work for a certain formation, we can't do it this week. You can't put it in then. It has to be, whatever you put in has to be able to adjust to various formations. It has to be easy. It can't be a lot of thinking. So you got to work really hard at keeping it simple. And then how you want universal program language. You have to have well, I'll explain more to mean by that in a second, but everyone needs to say the same thing for program language. Emphasis on fundamentals. Just like you're going to see the principles of our front line blocking on punt is offensive line principles. So if you're an offensive line coach, you'd be a great person to work on this unit or just specifically take that position. But if you're working your inside zone steps every day, got to be pretty close to the same thing on punt. So there's days we give our punters off to save their legs. You can still get quality pods work in. Comprehensive calls, you want them to build in together. Like our onside kicks on kickoff are named after guns. So it's just, they all have to build them together. So you just, in the teaching practices, the learning theory, this is like this. And then it makes it easier for kids to remember what's what. And then maximize coaching skill set is the most important thing. I really believe this as a special teams coordinator, that every single thing you do on special teams is a football fundamental. So use your coaches and maximize what they're best at and let them do it. And the last part is build a culture of freedom and responsibility within a framework. And what that means is we're going to run green or gold punt. We're going to have releases on the outside, but I'll give the receivers coach, when we split two guys out, I'll give him some freedom to, all right, what do you think is better? I don't coach receivers, never have. So if there's a better release we can do, then do it. Just let me know what it is, and that's what we'll go with. But I think when you do that, when you give those guys responsibility, say, these are your guys. So get them off the press. However they do it, they're going to put more into it because A, they believe what they're saying, and B, that's they're going to be held accountable when we either get off or don't get off the press. And then special teams to me is really something I looked at this off season. Just taking the 4 or looking at taking the 4 it's this simple. You need to win field position. Your starting drive needs to be better than your opponents. You look at this graphic here, and there's your scoring chances depending on where the ball started. So it needs to be on the thing that I enjoy most about football. Played a game this year, Tennessee Tech, was the whole first quarter we were playing on their side of the field because we punted it to the 2-yard line. We got a 3 and out. They punted it back. We took and scored. And that's complementary team football, and that's a wins game. So I'll reference this a lot as we go through the presentation, specifically in kickoff return, I want to get the ball to the 30-yard line because you can see the difference, and it's a small percentage, but the difference between the 20 to the 30, it's just that much better scoring opportunity. And it's not hard to get either fair catch at 25, or if you return the ball, just get it to the 30. You can get it past the 30-yard line, you're going to up your percentages. So I'm not one of these one explosive play per game, one big play on special teams per game. I just want to secure the football when you secure the football, do our job, don't get caught in fakes. And at the end of the day, just want to win field position. All right, so the lessons here that I learned from this past year is as our island of knowledge grows, so does the shore of our ignorance. And what that means is I learned a lot more doing these presentations. First off, last year did 100 of them, and then just having them all and then having a regular season. So I'm thinking, all right, I know this, we're going to hit them with this is going to work. We'll change it up, do this week. And in a lot of cases, those are epic failures because the more you know, you try to be super coach and you put it in, and then the kids don't execute it clean and you lose. So if I can give one piece of advice, it's don't know everything. Don't pretend you know everything. Don't try to know everything. Just do what you do and do it well. Here's a few examples of it. So deep left is always the answer. We went to a game against SEMO this year, and I had done this early in the year against Illinois State, and it worked really well. So all right, we'll keep being creative here. During the week, I didn't like the exchange of the L3 and the L4, and then they piped a touchdown on us, and we lost the game because of it. It was one of those kickoffs where it was the first play after half. It was 7-3 or some close game at halftime, and I knew that this is the most important kickoff of the game because the one thing that cannot happen is they cannot hit us with a big return. And sure enough, they did it. So looking back on it, it's easy to say, but deep left, call deep left. The kids know what to do. Spill the ball, play laterally, and tackle it. Don't get cute with these things because the minute you start doing these pick and rolls, and they do have a purpose, but I didn't like it during the week, and I called it, and we paid for it. And then ball placement on punts. For the first time here, since we've been here, we've had a punter that can boom the thing. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm excited. I said, all right, all you got to do is kick the ball as far as you can, and we'll take care of the rest. If we're best players on punt, we kept them on punt, we'll take care of it. You just bomb it. But I figured out a couple things with that. First off, hang time matters. I always tell punters I want 40 yards. I want the ball to go 40 yards deep with 4 seconds of hang time. Because if you accomplish that every time you're getting this, that means your net punt is 40 yards. With this particular kicker, he could bomb a 52, but his hang time would be 3.7, sometimes lower. And then I also had there's times where we tell him to kick in the middle and he's pushing all the way you can't cover the full field. So you have to be as accountable on the front line guys. You got to be the same way with the punters. The ball, you don't got to put in a teacup, but I'm going to put a 7-on-7 strip, half it, and he's got to hit at least right and left the 7-on-7 strip. 40 yards deep and 4 seconds of hang time is going to get you this every time. That's a 40-yard net punt. That's going to put you top among the top in the country. And then learn and practice. So this is another one. You would think I don't have to talk about this, right? But when you take shots on the returner and don't run past him. The first 2 down, take a shot. We talk about it all the time. First 2, take a shot. The other ones can't run past him. So this situation here, if we get this ball, it's a different football game. But we didn't get it because we ran past the returner. So those things that happen in practice, you can't. You get your 4-6 reps in. All right, good. Front line, good. Nice steps, clean. Everything matters. You have to be able. The worst thing in the world is to have to correct it off game film. And it's felt like the whole season there for the early part. Every week we were learning a lesson that I didn't see coming, that hit us in the game. And I'm happy that you learn the lessons, but it's much better to learn the lessons and not get hurt because of it. All right, so here's just I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is what I do. What I bring into game plans, and I'll share this with whoever, any of this stuff, honestly. I have no problem sharing with whoever. So that's what I'll look at in a game plan. I do believe in the color scheme, just the learning theory. Your eyes are going to gravitate towards it. So I know on the right hash, it's a green call. I would recommend you can't always be on the right hash going green. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you had to switch those things up. And then I'll always go out there looking at just off studying, finding first the people that do similar to what we do and how they defended it. I'll go in with this sheet, and then I'll also have every time I'll have guys drawing the actual looks that we got. And then you can see the notes there have helped me. I know I'm going in, are they going to double somebody, who it is? And then if they do, what do we do? And then I'll script it at times, but a lot of times that goes out the door if I didn't like the first look or anything. And then kickoff, I'll draw the base return that I expect to see, what they've done based off this look. And then just the calls you go into with. This is one of those games where I got cute and it hurt us because of it. And then again, there's your notes there. Boundary double 4, adjust time first jump. That means if they're jumping us, then we're going to adjust the timing of our switch. So that's what I'll bring in with me to game plan. So we'll get into punt here. I used to do, let's go what I do now, 2 yards across the board. I used to put the left end left tackle at 3 yards. Just talking to some other people and just realizing the benefit of the 3 yards doesn't really offset the amount of time you got to go. Remember year 3, remember year 2, you get the PVC pipes out there, 2 yards clean across the board. So I changed it to 2 yards across, then heels at 8 with a shield, and then heels at 14 with the punter. Now this will change. Our punter this year was an overstrider. He had real long, taller dude, had long strides, so we moved his toes to 15 to just get a little bit more depth there. And then we actually moved the shield up too, because we moved the shield's toes to 7 because the punter was still getting too close there. Now, I do believe in the heels at 8 is the best thing for your punter because it widens the block angle. So that's what we'll do there. The other one here, just to make sure that you don't get called, front line toes on the center's heels. You can see the left shield's foot there is directly behind. Middle shield's the same, and then the right shield is 1 foot as diagrammed. All right, so the stance now, universal program language, our coaches should be able to rattle this stance off. Square stance, feet no wider than your shoulder pads. Same thing I teach in press progression with defensive backs. If your base is too wide and you step, you're going to overstep. So you don't want to have a wide base. You want to have weight on your plant foot, squeeze your big toe is the single greatest coaching point that I learned from Coach Cushing. And it shows up all over the place. So if everyone's doing this presentation here, imagine with your feet there. All right, so we're all stepping to the left. Now, if you squeeze that right big toe, it's impossible for you to false step. Can't do it. So that's a big point of emphasis for us. It's the same thing like if you're rushing, if you just put your plant foot back, squeeze that big toe, you can't false step when you're squeezing that big toe. So it's just a small thing that shows up all over the place. Hands on your thigh boards, elbows sewn to your jersey, knees bent, chest and eyes up. I do that fast because we'd say it every day. Hands on your thigh boards, elbows tight, sewn to your jersey is going to come up all the time in everything we do in the special teams. And then knees bent, chest and eyes up. So the technique, now this is straight up zone blocking principles. Lucky that I work for a head coach that's an offensive line coach. So I'm thinking, all right, we're zone team up front. I like the zone because at any given time, you can only allow 2 on the shield. If you man it up, I worry about the stemming, which I don't see much. We don't see much. And then with that, since it's 1-on-1, you could always have 3 on the shield. If you zone, you could knock 1 off and only face 2. And I also think it's easier. So the first thing I want to do is identify threats in your gap. Then you want to have a positive first step. We call them base reach or bucket steps. Again, squeezing that big toe, you won't false step. We want you to run out of your stance. It's not a shuffle. And then just punch and run through his ever line your gap. You want to destroy his charge. We'll talk about angles right now. Actually, you want to aim for the near number. You don't want to try to cross the guy's face. Guys do this all the time. Aim for the near number and then block him on whatever angle you found him. I have some graphics of that, but that's what that means. I use the example, like if you've ever gone duck hunting, you're not going to shoot a duck where it's at. You're going to shoot a duck where it's going. So it's the same principle in the zone blocking. Aim for the near number and block him where he's at or where he's going. And then there's another example of that. Now that's the hardest look because he's head up on our teammate. But don't reach his face. Just go block that near number and then wash him by. All right, so with the shield, and this would be a really good unit for your running back coach to coach or position rather, just because that's what they do. They're inside out protecting and pass protection. So the shield is the same way, secure inside gaps and react to outside threats, protect the kick point. There is an inside and an outside pressure. You want to punch inside and serve to the outside. That's going to be a lot like PAT field goal. Keep your shoulders square and your elbows tight. You're going to put your screws under his chin. Block the top of your shoulder pads. Keep your feet and eyes active. Step to contact, stay firm. Most important thing, the shield, and this is where we failed this year. We did not step to contact and did not stay firm, and a couple teams took advantage of that. So that's something that has to be talked about a lot. You got to find a way, and I'm working on it myself. Just like you can make safeties think playing cool is hard and make that the culture of the room. I got to get the shield guys to think playing shield is cool, make that the culture of the position, step to contact. It's got to be the toughest players on your team. So green and gold for the shield's always the same too. So there's the front line and the shield. It's either green or gold, period, nothing else. Green is punt to the right. The kick point is a call side hip in the middle shield. Gold is punt to the left. Call side hip in the middle shield, who will be sliding in that picture. And there's a look at that. You can see 65 stepping to contact. You can see 76 inside out. That's perfect by him. And then we can watch 67. Just got to get his pads a little bit lower. Need a more solid punch there. And then he surges to the outside. So then it's important to give these guys visuals of where their threats are. So we're running a green call here, so you know you have the open A-gap rushers for sure. And the only other one you're going to have is that late edge from the backside. Now you see the kick point is going to be call side's hip of the middle shield there. So the backside rusher with the three-man front should not, he can't get there. Can't. As long as your operation time is clean, is getting off in 2-2 or less, that dude ain't getting there. But the other important part is the punter has got to get his kick line to the top of the numbers and then the call side hip of the middle shield. If he doesn't do his 111 and the punt can get blocked. So another principle that actually one of the offensive linemen, one of our players, I was teaching the shield, and he said, that's just a blind hand. I said, what the heck's a blind hand? And he told me, he's like, you don't necessarily have to see. You can feel inside there with your blind hand because you know the middle shield's sitting there. You can feel that punch and then surge to the outside. So I thought that was interesting. And anytime I can take football-specific things, I'll use that. So here's another look at the shield here. 72 is a refrigerator in there. He's born to be a middle shield. So you can just see him step into contact. Again, you see 67 there. He oversteps the shield there. His foot almost gets behind him. And then he has to get his pads low. All right, so here's green for us. Green is punt to the right. You can see I said 2021, and then that's what we did last year. The red is what the base install is, but you have to be able to fluctuate it to your players. So the green is always punt to the right. You're going to block the gap to your right. Near number, the furthest man in your gap. Backside end, bucket step, cut off any threats. You want to wash him to the cylinder. Shield, hold ground, everything we just said. Punter places the ball 40 yards deep on the numbers to your right. You can kick the ball 48. That's great. You ain't getting bonus points. I need 40 yards and 4 seconds of hang time, so they do this every time. And you can see there, just the look at the front there. We'll have an adjustment for the 3 in the A gap. I can get that to you individually if you would like. Gold is exactly the same thing, so I'm going to go through it fast. Green and gold, right and left. Never changes. So the front line guys don't have to worry about anything. Is it green or is it gold? It's right or left. Is that big toe squeeze? Yes, it is. Where's the near number? I'm going to run through 3. All right, so if you get double teams, a couple stunts that have worked really well for us are these. So this one here is an X stunt. Especially the 3-man shields, you'll get these. And if you're not doing them and you're a punt block coach, double team people. This one here, the tackle would go first and just picks 45. You're still going to do the same thing. You're still going to run to the inside number. This would be a green call. And then the end there just takes 1-2 little shuffle steps behind. He's going to be free and clear. O stunt is the same, but opposite. Now the end crashes and he comes underneath. Here's a couple of looks at these for you here. And that's just first off, a real clean look at spreading the field. But let's look at the O first to the left. We'll let it refresh. You can see how clean that one came off. Bam, wide open. And then look at the X to the backside there. He's got to sort through a little bit of trash, but he does, and then plays off of the first man down the field. So we'll get into out as well. That just means that the call side end splits out. It's all I was talking to. It's still green. Call side end is going to split out. Give him bottom of the numbers, free release to the returner. Now that fluctuates. Just you don't want to be too close to the sideline because then your defender can use that as an extra defender. So just make sure you're just giving yourself room to give yourself a clean two-way go. That's just an out call. Open, it's my favorite one, but you have short edges on both sides. Same thing with this one. You're going to have a short edge now to the right, but that's the zone side. You're moving right, so it shouldn't matter. So open here is my favorite one. We'll use this automatically in all pooch situations. Talks to both of them, split out in a free release there. Green and green is green, gold is gold. Over talks to the away side end. He will split out to the call side. So you bring, this is green over, the left end comes over, and he will split out. You can utilize an X stunt there if you need to, but you do this. If you have the punter that you're positive can place the ball top of the numbers to the right or left hash, it's a really good one to use if you're facing a team that has a really good returner. Now, if you're getting a bunch of field returns, don't use it. I didn't use it that much this year because we did see a lot of field returns, because you can see if he catches and goes to the field, you're short over there. So if you have the hang time, you're okay. If you have the ball placement, you're okay. If neither one of those are great, just go green and gold. And then just understanding where you're short here. So you got the call side gap open and the backside late edge pressure. All right, twin, we'll just buzz through these. Here's what I was talking about with the receivers. Just play games with them. We call 12, 21, or whatever your receiver coach uses. Pick moves, you can use that, but just let that guy coach what he does best and use it. So green twin, gold twin, those guys split out. All right, and then we're still going on punt here. So I'll do this every time. I saw it and loved it. We're still not clean enough at it, but come out of a huddle and then sprint to the line. You can see you're going to get guys all right and left. Now, if you go green and gold every time, it's not going to make a difference. But if you go green and then you go to out, then you go to twin, then you go to over, or then you got all the stuff on film, get in the huddle and they come out. Now, speed is the most important thing there. Then a lot of times we'll just send them on the field and line up. So you're always playing games with your opponents. Sometimes we huddle, sometimes we don't. Release is also very important. So these are all defensive line releases. Same thing, I'll teach you safeties and perimeter pass game. You just want to grab your opposite wrist, hit his arm down. I don't like to rip, because if you rip, it can still hang on to you. If you beat that arm down, you're getting off that release. So we'll work on these a lot. And then the shrug release is down the way. Again, defensive line stuff down the way. This will also come up. Both of these will come up in kickoff coverage. So this is our linebacker coach teaching this drill, because that's what they do every day. All right, so kickoff. So kickoff's defined in 3 zones. Ignore stuff on the double team stuff on the right for a second here. Speed and avoid zone, set, rip, and stack. We'll talk about that. We want to narrow the field, condense it. The combat zone is when you can engage defenders before that speed zone. Don't touch anybody. It's not bully time. It's not tougher than you. It's avoid the blocks, stack back in your lanes. Then the finish zone is leverage the ball and tackle. And then you see a little star there. So with the 3.75 hang time, which is pretty realistic FCS hang time, you want your cover players to be inside the -35 when the ball is caught. So they have to be moving through the speed zone. And then double team. So it's an important one that comes up a lot. Split them if you can. Then you can show like you're splitting, then attack the outside number of the outside man. Then you have to stack back. What you cannot do is vacate your area. You can't get crushed out of there. And then identify returns. I just picked this up this offseason, just doing some studying. The returns will hit in 3 different areas. So we'll talk about that in a second. Alley, right, doubling the 4 and the 5. If you're not blocked, you run down free, anticipate a trap block coming across the field. So here's what I was talking about. The returns are defined just like you would defend the field vertically. You have to defend it horizontally too. What I did is, just because I'm a safeties coach, I've just broke the field up and figured out the areas we have to defend. Now we're going deep left here. I'm not really worried too much about anything right of the right hash there. So I had to make sure I have defenders in each one of these areas. So sideline returns. So if you're a sideline, be sideline double 45 or alley double 45. Sidelines, you're 1 and 2 are responsible for that. Sorry. L2 spills the ball to the sideline. We'll talk about that in a second. L1 plays off the L2, but those 2 are sideline defenders. The L3, the L4, and the L5 on the sideline return, you want to squeeze inside out, and you want to cancel the cutback. Once the cutback is canceled, really be for the 5. You overlap and become a safety player, a net player. I don't use the word safety player in kickoff. I hate it because everyone thinks they don't have to do anything. Alley, so the L1 and L2, the ball, alley double 45, you're going to secure, and then you're a full 2-hit player. So you want to make sure that ball isn't hitting outside. Once you recognize the alley return, you secure, full hit. L4 and L5, L3 and L4, you want to force that ball to the L5. This is two of them, right and left. And then the shoot right up the middle there, the L5s want to spill the ball laterally. The R2 over there, you see him to the right, has to protect the hash. Now that guy's job is literally to protect the hash. I tell him to run to ball depth, stand there and look at the returner. Once he goes inside, then you can fold over the top. The minute you start pounding deep left kicks and try to hit you with the return, because you can see I'm flooding the field to the left. And then ones, twos, and threes here, I'm talking right side here, you're going to become a net over the five. So once you realize this shoot return, especially R1, is a net over the fives. Kickoff, make it easy, speed wins. Be the fastest players on the field. Doesn't matter how they block you or what they block you if you're running your butt off down the field. Speed will win. Ball's trapped inside there. So this one here is to teach how to avoid. So you're going to say, all right, coach, I got guys like they avoid blocks and they get fans. So what I teach is set, rip, and stack. You want to set him up, cross his face, rip him, stack back in your lane. So to show what that is, it is exactly this. It's also a D-line stunt, a two-way go on a guard, but it's a crossover step in basketball. All you're doing, most of your kids have played basketball. So you ever play basketball? Yeah, you know what a crossover step is? That's what it is. Tell a lie with your eyes, set him one way, rip behind him, stack back in your lane. There's another one. Boom, tells him a lie, stack back in his lane. Show them this. I promise you they're going to understand. Oh, yeah, it's like hooping, coach. Crossover step. All right, so deep left returns. Really, so we don't get into why everybody aligns everywhere. You know, the horizontal space in the field we already talked about. The reason I put the R1 so far is most of the time that guy, that right tackle, is responsible for blocking the R3 as you see it. But you have to go honor that guy, because if you don't, we're going to pooch it to the right there. So it widens his gap, and it's really hard to defend that. So the first player down, the most important player is your L2. His job is to spill the ball, to get the ball to spill to the sideline as your 12th defender and the R1 or L1. L1 is going to play off of him. Hash protector we talked about. L1 plays off the L2. Don't use the word safety. He's a hit player. He's trailing the R2 by, I tell him, 7 yards. That ball is going to spill and he's going to clear it up. If he doesn't spill it, the L1 can fold in and hit it, because now your L2 has forced it. If he spills it, it's going to shoot right out to him in the sideline. L3, L4, L5 are all hit players, inside and in front. Don't make it hard. Run to the ball and hit it. Set, rip, stack, stay in your lane. R5, now these guys will start in the middle of the field. Then by the time they're crossing the 45, opposite 45, they want to squeeze the field to the left, end up at the left upright. R5 starts in the upright. He wants to end in the middle of the goalpost. And then R3, similar there, is going to end down the right upright after starting at the hash. The R1 now, don't use the word safety player. I tell that guy, expect him to make every tackle. Speed, leverage, set, rip, stack, and take shots on the return. So here's a really, really good look at the L2 here. Looking at 33 on the bottom of the screen here. So watch what he does here with the set, rip, stack. Watch him spill the ball. Boom, boom, right in there for a shot. Attempt to spill the ball. The ball still does hit laterally. See, the L1, the one is not trailing him well enough, but you can just see the set, rip, stack for the L2 there. That guy has got to be your dude. He's got to be savvy and he's got to be physically. That's a guy you have to know that when it comes time to make contact, he's doing it. That's a fantastic job. It's like my favorite clip ever. Skywright will utilize this kick a lot as well. Just to talk about responsibilities. R1, ball can't get outside him, returner can't get outside of him. L4's got to cross the field and keep the ball on his inside shoulder. The R3 is your container, the right there. Those are your ball players. The L5, when the ball is kicked, is going to loop around, keep the ball on his inside shoulder. The L3 is your hash defender near. Then you have a hash defender far. That's ball depth, because a lot of times people will try to catch the ball and sky kicks and then hit you to the field. In the L1, make sure he's another safe player there. So this is a good change up for a couple reasons if you're going left all day, but you will get a lot of these, especially if you go on the field and you see a big sun and you can use that thing, use it. Because I'd say if we've done this kick 20 times, probably 8 of them get muffed around the ball. Other times they're either fair caught, or sometimes players are dumb enough to catch the ball at the 20 and then step out of bounds. So we'll take those 5 free yards. This kick I love, because if they're not honoring the R1, It is a give me every time. You can see his look in practice there. You want to hit that ball on the 46-yard line, high point it, boom. So if you see the defender there, you're going to see that teams are going to put that guy in tight. You got usually if he's numbers minus about 3 close to the ball, that kick is there. It's just got to practice it. We do it all the time. And then this is the onside I used. I'm not going to get too much into it. But what it is left and right guys do the exact same thing every time. They don't know if the ball is coming to them. It's an onside to them. As far as they're concerned, it's coming to them. You see the ball players in the black and the red players are in the black players are in the red. So those guys run the same thing every time. The kicker is going to come out, only talk to the 5s. Now he's going to say right or left, at which point the 5s are just make sure the ball don't crease you on the hash. Or he's going to say, hey, middle. Those guys will go blow up the defenders, and the kicker will kick the ball, recover the ball. You can also pop it. So the only ones that know what's going on are the 5s. Later in the season, too, we actually just kicked it regular. We kicked it regular left. And, again, the left side just running their onside, sprint down the ball. That thing's going to hang up there and it's going to give you a chance to return it. But I like this because it makes them – you're always going to – it's like an audible for you. You got to be able to trust your kicker doing that. But if he sees one guy in the middle, where do you think that one's going? So they have to put 2 there. If they don't put a defender about the 20-yard line, then your pop kick is there. If they don't put 4 on each side, then you have numbers on one side. So I like this one a lot. All right, so kickoff line, where's my time at there? It's 9:40. Okay, so what I did with this, just off-season study again, same thing. I hope I'm not overanalyzing as a defensive back coach, but I just broke the field up and realized that the 8 yards from the bottom numbers of the hash, the bottom numbers of the sidelines, it's 9, but we're not defending those 8. So where he's located, that's 8 yards. I don't have to worry about those. So I absolutely have to worry about the 13 yards in between the tackles in the center there, or both centers, the tackles and the centers. So I fluctuated that, and I put those guys 1 yard inside the hash. Left guards are going to apex those two, so split the difference. Put them at the 42-yard line, so that's 7 yards. So I felt like it gave them time. 8 yards. Felt like it gave them time. If they were to try to hit it in that crease there, they have time to react it. I like the right ends where they're at, hash +1. Now, you can move them up to 30 because 17 yards is a little long, but I like to field those sky kicks running forward instead of back. Sky kicks are mostly going to hit 25, 28-yard lines, so those guys can run. And then fullbacks and off returners, fullback, adjust as much as you can. Now, the goal, again, is to get the ball at 30-yard line. If you get different sets, this thing will squeeze. But just from a base principle of making sure the field is covered, I felt just breaking it down that this was the safest way to do it. Frontline guys have to make sure the ball is kicked. Backline guys, every step has to be the same. That's really, really important because as kickoff coach, all I'm looking at is the up back steps. See if they give me a tell. But if you do the same thing every time, there is no tell. And then with the switching, just our general rules, your man stays your man. A lot of times they'll exchange. All right, so get the ball at the 30-yard line is the goal. Make everything start the same way. So KOR, base blocks, we'll talk about this in a second. It's exactly the same as the offensive lineman working to a second level defender. Double teams, I call them a post player and a close player. And then KOR wall blocks, just winning with leverage is a wall block. Downfield steer drill is a defensive line drill. So front line, same as a O lineman climbing to a linebacker. You're going to sprint to your landmark. I put that at the 35. Pretty universal. The 30 is where you're going to turn and defend. So a sprint to your landmark, just like a deep safety with like peak when he's close the middle of the field. Same concept here. You don't want to completely turn and head with. You want to kind of run, just take a quick peek at your man. 35-yard line, and you want to snap and you want to turn and open, snap and shuffle at the 33. Shuffle back might take you to the 31 a little bit. So just try to give a little room there. And you want to keep your shoulders square and you want to attack the defender. Sprint, snap, and attack is what we use. Your eyes must be in the defender's belt buckle, elbows sewn to your jersey, thumbs up, fingers pointed out, pitchfork, same thing we use with the shield, offensive line principles. Placement, you want to have square hands. And then once you establish square hands, if the turner's coming to your right, you want to take that hard shoulder, also a D-line drill, hard shoulder, extend that thing out. That's going to actually put you in ball me man relationship. Your butt's going to face right at the returner. Feet are hot and on train tracks, the low pad level. your insteps on the outside of his. I'll get you a look here in a second. It'll also make a lot more sense. The execution I use is step, dip, and strike, low contact forward, rise with power. Once your body, you want to keep, once he is blocked, keep your body between the man and returner, point your butt at the return. So here's a look at that. It's literally the exact same thing. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but it is. It's the same thing. I'll show you in a second here. So you can see step, dip, strike. You want to get both hands on those breastplates. You want to stay square. And then you want to get I went past this too fast, but the insteps of yours on the outside of his, or you can just say toes on toes, step on it. So yours toes on his toes. So then this is the drill we do for it. What is the difference? Except for the fact that our guys are skinny and don't do it well at all because their pads are high and their bases are wide. But it's the same thing. And you can see this thing now come in with your sprint to your landmark, snap, and shuffle. Sprint to your landmark, snap, shuffle to stay square, step, dip, strike, same concept. Your toes on his toes. So take these things and try to find football fundamentals. Wall blocks are my favorite because he blocks himself. You're just going to win with your leverage. You're going to make him run past the defender. An arm bar here would mean if I'm sitting with you here, if you got a returner that runs, from my perspective here, you're seated. If he runs to your left, just take this hand and arm bar him and then run him by the return. It really is going to turn into the same thing it would be if you were in man coverage, where your eyes are going to now transition to his hip. As soon as his hips drop, which they will, yours are going to drop. Maintain a rail position with eyes on his near hip. Same thing I teach defenders in man coverage, eyes on the near hip. Anticipate him chopping. When he drops, we drop. And then you want to steer him, get your hands on his breastplate and steer him away from the returner. You can also high screen and box out, which just means, just like in basketball, just box him out. If he's by the returns inside of me, just box him out, or just high screen and run him by the returner. But he should chop his feet prior to that. So looking at the top part here, there's an arm bar. So the returner's to our right here. The guy wants to go wide, great. Arm bar him, run him past. Easy. This one here, you'll see a little bit of a steer drill there. Eyes are on the near hip, rail position. He drops, we drop. And then it's just running him while continuing to finish the block and running past the defender. Drops on air, sprint, snap, and attack. Again, universal drops right around 30. I would have this at the 35. And then this is just your landmarks between the 30 and 35. And this is just an easy drill you do with your own guys on air. Double team. So this, I wanted to use principles of like double team, offensive line, and co-op work. So those guys are working together. Post, first man in, base block principles, punch down, right down the middle of the man. The second man's going to, second man's a close man, post and close, post and close. He's going to aim for the near number. He's going to run his feet. You want to keep him covered until the returner clears you. Post, close. All right, so just a couple base ones for us. There's your double team there, middle double 55, which I really like. You can see these blocks about to be challenging there, right? There's your guard taking the three. Your left guard's really got to push to get to leverage, get and keep his leverage. Same thing over here, 30, 35. R2s are going to check the fullbacks check R2 to most dangerous man. If the R2 is wide or wash himself out, go pick up the most dangerous man, hit the crease inside there. Right double 45. This really should be alley double 45. That's where the ball is going to hit. You're going to double there, post and close. Double there, post and close. There's your backside blockers there. Now you're going to notice the steps of the ends there. Left end, right end, fullback, off return. Look at their steps. All right, look at their steps here. The first few steps are going to look the same to eliminate the tells there. So this ball you want to hit right up in the alley there. Wall out the R2 and our R3 and R2. Hit that thing right down the hash. All right, so punt block return now. Again, if any of this stuff's fast, you want more detail, my info is at the end of this. I'd be happy to send anything. So this one here, I just want to be as simple as possible. My belief in this is catch all fieldable punts. If I put it on here, yeah, there we go. Win the line of scrimmage. I'm going to use press principles on the line of scrimmage to win on the line of scrimmage. Catch all fieldable punts. Everything catchable, you've got to catch it. Average on field punt roll 17 yards. and then limit thinking, because you get so much of the two-man shield and most of the adjustments. It's got to be clean. It's got to be universal. It has to be the same every week. And you have to have built-in answers. And then the other thing I thought about, I don't know if you'll be able to do this or not, just in terms of how long the drive is, but it'd be pretty easy to keep your starting four, like the corners and the safeties, on the field, because the terms we use are all the same ones we use on defense. Safeties generally are smarter players on the field, and the safeties in this are the most important players. So every return is also a base middle return, because I want the return to be able to catch the ball. And if he can get seven, get seven. So you can see my safeties there, secure the fake, go pick somebody up, and then win your one-on-one in the line of scrimmage. So the wall and steer drill, which we really just talked about, that was with the single return and the dudes in the orange jerseys. Press progression front line, which is just straight up exactly what I teach defensive backs and press and corners. It's the exact same principles there. So have yourself and your corners coach do that. Safety coach, corner coach. It's what they do for a living. We already talked about squeezing the big toe there. All right, so you get this would be green out for us. Everyone is the same. Your left safeties are the adjusters. So your left safety would adjust now. Let's take the first man in line of scrimmage. You'll notice the end is always outside the first man. You keep his rules the same for him. So the left safety adjusts. He's the adjuster. He would come down, now take the first man to the right. The second player to the right corner would take the furthest. Corners always have the furthest. Look at the right corner over here. There is no furthest now. So give a little bump call, and he comes in. The left would be the same thing. The right safety now adjusts. Right corner has his guy, right end still outside. Corner is nobody, corner bumps. Now, to understand this fully, you really need all the pictures, and I'd be happy to share them again. So versus two-man shield, left safety adjusts. He comes out. He has number two to his side. Right safety is secure player there in the middle of the field, checking all the fakes. And you're still outside. We're still rushing up front there. Now to go back just to our alignment there. So you see the left, the right side, those guys are on the ball. The backers are off. 3 yards, B gap canceled. And we'll also have a change-up call we call up, where everybody's up. Now it could be easier for a true press, like a bump and run press, to be right up in their face. The off man is just give him a mirror his release step. Two-man shield, we talked about that one. So then the returns we'll do on this one is Rivers a block right, return left. It's a bunch of different things you can do. You can, on those guys rushing, loop them back to set a wall. I pretty much did it last night and then deleted it and said, stop trying to do too much. Just let them be the rush guys, return to the right, win to the left there. Now the returner's really, because your guys have inside leverage, going to hit that thing inside the hash. The arrow should really be pointing forward instead of left. And then right return is your all-out return there. They're going to get a shiver on the guy on the right, on the line there. They'll fall off and set the wall. Returner will catch that thing and go. Now your secure player will come, and then the right side has got to win their one-on-ones on line of scrimmage. Same principles. I already forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. All right, so that is that. So there's the information. There's so much there, and I know I try to do as many things as I can, because it might just be one coaching point, like squeezing your big toe, or set dips, or set rip stack, or step dip strike, or something like, oh, that guy said the same as an offensive lineman principle there. Oh, that's steer drill. They do press progression on PBR. So if it's just one thing that anyone can get out of this, then it's worth it. So I just try to cover a wide range. But if anybody wants to talk more about any one specific thing, there's my information there. I'll send PowerPoints. I don't really care. I don't have any secrets. I just think that we work as hard as we can trying to keep the skill sets and try to find universal fits to football problems. That is what I have. Appreciate everybody. Always more than welcome. Come down to Charleston and clinic defensive backs with me, or any special team stuff. So I do appreciate your guys' time. Love the state of Illinois. Happy holidays, everybody. Good night.